Good morning.
Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning, sir.
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Uh, uh, are there section 2 students as well here? How many of you are section 2? Can you raise your hand? Okay. Okay, you can put your hands down. Okay, thank you. So, do you have any questions what we had discussed earlier? Any question? No? Aniket Kumar Gupta. Aniket Kumar Gupta, are you with us? 20 MI 1 0007.
Yes, sir.
Oh, so can you tell me what we had discussed in the last class? Just can you brief me?
The last slide I didn't attended.
The video is there. You should have watched it.
Yes, sir. Sir, yesterday, sir, due to some emergency, I have returned to home, sir. So today I will watch.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Anyone else will volunteer to just let me know what we had discussed in the last class?
Sir, we had discussed hockey
Yes,
stick type curve, 90/10 ratio, and we were discussing capitalism at the last.
Okay, so what we were discussing was in the last say 1000 years or so, within that period in the globe, we observe similar pattern for four things. One is your real GDP. The other one is productivity of labor. And then we see how connectivity of various parts of the world has been in terms of, let's say, information spreading from one part of the world to the other part of the world. And then we observe what you call is CO2 emissions and climate change thing. All these indicators followed a typical pattern of what we call is a hockey stick type of growth. And the kink we observe for these indicators around the same time period. So what we have is, for a long period of time, we didn't observe any noticeable changes in our lives. However, once this king started, and in the recent years, we are observing noticeable changes from one generation to another generation. Even within a generation, we are observing some noticeable changes. How can we explain this? The change we have witnessed. How can we explain the change from a world in which living conditions didn't change much? If any change had occurred that time, before that king, it was mostly driven by epidemic or war. But now, without any epidemic or any war, we are observing noticeable changes, not only from generation to generation, also within a generation. How can we explain those changes? One important part of this answer to explain those changes is what we call is capitalism. And what we mean by this capitalism is an economic system in which there are three institutions. That those three institutions drive the organization of production and distribution of goods and services. So capitalism is an economic system where production and distribution of goods and services are driven by three institutions. What are these three institutions? These three institutions are your private property, market, and your farms. So what is this private property? And what is this market? And how we can define these farms as institutions, those who are responsible for organizing the production and distribution of goods and services in the economy. This capitalism, which started in the late 17th century or in the early 18th century in Europe, particularly in Britain, had spread over the globe, and it is currently the primary economic system existing in the world. Though we have other form of economic system, but capitalism is the primary economic system we observe in today's world. So coming to this private property, what is this private property? It means that you can enjoy your possession in a way that you choose. So if you have possession of anything, then you can enjoy your possession the way you choose. For example, let's say you have a car. Whether how you use that car, or maybe you have say an apple. How you use that apple is up to you. And then when you choose to enjoy your possession the way you would like to, at that time, if you wish, you can exclude others. You can exclude other if you wish. Let's an apple, if you want to eat by yourself, you eat it by yourself, or you may share it with your friends. And then if you want to dispose of your possession, then you can dispose of your possession through gift or through sale to someone else. So if you want to dispose it of to someone else what you have owned, then you can do that by gifting it to someone or selling it to someone. To whom you sell or gift your possession, then he or she become the owner of the things you have gifted or sold. So that is what we call is private property. So if you don't have private property, then someone else might come and take your possession forcefully. So if that is happening, then your private property is not secure. Say if you own a car, someone come and take it forcefully, or you own a house and someone forcefully stays there, then that dilute your private property, or your private properties in that case is not secure. So that is what we call is private property. Then what we mean by this market? Market implies, and let me ask, how we'll define market? What is a market? Anyone?
Yeah, if I just define a market, it's basically a way to connect people, basically for the exchange of goods and services.
Yes. So
Sir, market is a retail platform where goods from firms are sold to customers.
yes, both of you are correct. It is not only a retail platform. Markets is not only a retail platform. It's not only selling to customer. It also inclusive of selling to farms. See, one farm is selling to other in a say something. Then it is also constitute of market. So market it is a way of connecting economic agents or economic actors who may mutually benefits. Mutually benefits. So it is not only between, say, one person to another person, or it is not a place like we say tech market. When you're saying tech market, it is not only the physical location. Market is what you say is a way of connecting people. Like you say you are at home and you call someone in the tech market, or you are in your hostel and you call someone in the tech market to deliver, you say, some Maggie or some biscuits. That is also market. So this is what we call is a way of connecting economic agents for their mutual benefits. So it connects economic agents for their mutual benefits. And how it connects? By the means of exchanging goods and services. Exchanging goods and services through a process of buying and selling. Buying and selling. So market is a way of connecting economic actors for their mutual benefits through a process of exchanging goods and services through buying and selling. Similarly, what do we mean by farms? Farms is a way of organizing production. It's organizing production which has few characteristics. The characteristics of farms are, so the primary things these farms do is to produce goods and services. So in a farm, the first characteristics is there is one person or more than one persons who owns capital goods. And what is this capital goods? These capital goods are used for the production of future goods, or maybe these goods are used for further production. So there is a set of people, maybe one person or maybe many individuals who owns these capital goods for production. And those who own these capital goods, they are known as your owner of the farm. They are the owner of the farm. And these owners of the capital goods hire workers by paying wages and salary. So these owners hire workers by paying wages and salary, and the workers they hire, they agree to work under the direction of these owners. And whatever they produce, those workers, whatever they produce using the capital goods, the product or the produce are become the property of those owners. Products are the property of the owners. And these owners, then these sell these goods and services they produce using their own capital and hiring worker on markets with the objective of gaining profit. So if some institution are producing, but they are not selling their product or produce in the intention of gaining profit, then they will not be considered as farms. For example, the non-NGOs, non-government organizations or non-profit organizations, they produce goods and services, but they do not sell them for profits. So they are not farms. Similarly, family. If you look at our history, when I'm saying our history, it's the human history. You observe this private property and markets were present from a long time. And the production of goods and services in those time were mostly by family. So you have a family, so which produce goods and services, and they own, the family own those goods and services. But there were only say few farms or so. So these family, so they have the property rights on what they produce, and they take to the markets, probably in India, what is known as HAT or weekly market, we are in modern times calling to sell their products. So though we have private property and markets existed prior to this capitalism, introduction of these farms of producing goods and services make this capitalism different from other form of economy we had observed prior to that. So in general, when we talk about these farms, what do we mean by this farm? that make of a capital economy that include restaurants, banks, large firms that pay others to work there, and your industrial establishment, your supermarkets, and your internet providers, like your, let's say, many of you may be using internet to log in for this class. So whoever is providing that internet services, they are known as firms. But other organizations which are producing like family, they are not firm, as I said. Why they are not firm? Because in a family, what earlier we had, they usually do not hire workers. And similarly, your non-profit organization, they do not sell their goods and services for profit. Similarly, government-owned establishment or entities, such as in case of India, your railways is not a farm. Similarly, you have what you call is employee-owned cooperatives. In a cooperative, all workers are the owners. So there is no worker as defined, or there is no owner as such. So we cannot distinguish between owner and worker in a cooperative. So they are not also your farms. So these farms, hire worker is one of the key aspects. And this has led to emergence of another market, what we call is the labor market. So what is this labor market? Where this, in the labor market, these farms owner, which usually we know as the employer, these owners offer wages to individuals who may agree to work under their supervision, and these employers are the demand side of the labor market, whereas employees are the supply side of the labor market. So this capitalism had led to emergence of another market, which is labor market. And in a market, as we discussed earlier, what is market we discussed, but what are the characteristics of market? You see in the market, the exchange of goods and services. The exchange of goods and services are reciprocated. And it is not like gifts or theft. So what do you mean by this reciprocate? Reciprocate implies one person transfer of a good or services to another is directly reciprocated by a transfer in the other direction, either by another goods or services, as in the case of a barter exchange, or through money, or maybe promise of a later payment, when this buying and selling in the markets through credit. So the market is when it is what you call is reciprocated, and then one of the other characteristics of market is it is voluntary. No one is forcing you to participate in the market. As Adam Smith had mentioned, the economic agents are coordinating amongst themselves voluntarily because of their self-interest. So this market participation of the economic agents is voluntary. And the other characteristics of market is there
So can you
is
just reciprocate it once more?
what reciprocated implies,
Yeah.
when you transfer something to me, or when you exchange something with me, then there should be another reciprocated things given to you. That is what we are saying is reciprocated. Say you are giving me, let's say, a pen, then I should at the give you either something, let's say a book, or maybe I should give you in terms of money, or I should promise you that I'm going to give you the money in future. So in that case, it is what you call is a credit market. Okay, so the exchange, so you'll receive the reciprocated payment or exchange in future. So that is what we are saying is reciprocate. So transfer of goods from you to me is reciprocated by me through a transfer of goods or money or future credit to you. That is what we are saying is reciprocated. Okay. Or let's say you are giving your friend, let's say a sandwich. So your friends can give you a biscuit packet, or your friends may pay you 10 rupees or 20 rupees. Or your friends may say that I will give you a sandwich, let's say on Sunday. Even in that case, that is some sort of market. But in a market, as we will see, that is what we call is reciprocated. But and that should be if it is voluntary. But your exchange between your friend and you may not be part of the market because it may not satisfy the third criteria we are going to discuss, that there is at least some competition. So when you are giving say sandwich to your friend, there should be other people who also wants to give sandwich. At the same time, when your friend is taking your sandwich, then there should be other people also who are interested to take your sandwich or get your sandwich. So there should be some degree of competition. So this competition ensure if a seller charging a high price, then only will find that buyer who is preferring to buy at that price, or those buyers will move to other seller who are selling the same product at a lower price. So these are the properties or the characteristics of what you can say markets. So the exchange between you and your friend, whether it's a sandwich or something else, is not part of the market exchange because there is little competition involved. Though it may be reciprocated, though it may be voluntary. So you are giving sandwich to your friend and your friend is giving you Maggie. So there is a reciprocate and voluntary. Nobody is forcing you to do that. But there is little competition. So that cannot be part of market exchange. So this is what we call. So this is how this capitalism works in the modern world. So this capitalist revolution, how it had leads to our rising standard of living. This is because of two things. One is the impact on technology, because farms are competing amongst themselves, because farms, as we said, are the producers of goods and services that they would like to sell in the market. The objective of gaining profit. When these farms are, and in the market there are competitions among the farms to sell their products. This competition amongst the farms force these farms to innovate or develop new technology so that they can produce more with same inputs. So there will be technological advancement as we had discussed. So as we discuss that what we mean by technological advancement or technological progress in economics, that we can produce same amount of output using lesser input, or we can produce more output using the same amount of input. So farms, because they are competing in the market, they had a strong incentive to develop and adopt new technology that will make technological progress. Further, this, as we observe in the pin factory example, the capitalist revolution also witnessed increase in specialization. And as we observe, specializations foster more of goods and services to produce. So this capitalist revolution through technological advancement and specialization are increasing our goods and services we use to produce. And because of this technological advancement also, what we are registering is expansion of our trade. Because as we said, specialization leading to more goods and services to be produced is constrained by the extent of market. And to overcome this extent of market limitation, what we have is expansion of trade, and how this specialization led to what we call is more product, why this specialization led to production of more goods and services. This probably because of three things. One is when someone continue to do the same thing again and again, what we call is learning by doing, then you learn better way of doing it. So when you do it time and again, one task, time and again, we acquire skills as we produce things. And then, so the first one is what we call is learning by doing, why specializations increase our output or the whatever we produce. The second one is difference in ability. So difference in ability not only amongst the workers, but maybe in the natural environment of producing things. So if we are specialized in producing goods and services where you have better ability, natural ability, then you will produce more. It not only applies to the workers, but it also applies to the natural environment as well. So let me give you an example of workers. Let's say one worker is better at producing, say, just one chip of your smartphones. Then if that person engaged in somewhere else, probably that person will not able to produce as much as he would produce if he's engaged in producing the chips of your smartphone. So different, so specialize, when we have specialization, then people or the workers are sorted according to their ability. So this is one part. The other part is there is also difference in ability in our natural surrounding. Let's say you live in a place where the soil quality is such where you can produce groundnuts much more quantity than that of, let's say, producing rice or something, paddy or something. So if you produce groundnut, then you will be producing much more than that of producing paddy. So difference in ability, uh, uh, specialization helps of sorting out not only workers but our natural resources to be used in which they have better scope or better ability. And the third one is what we call is economies of scale. Economies of scale. What we mean by economies of scale is when we are producing a large number of units of same good, is most cost effective than producing smaller number. So if you are producing, let's say, you have natural resources of land. If you have, say, 10 acres of land and use all your 10 acres to produce, say, rice or paddy, then you may produce more than, let's say, dividing them. One part you are producing groundnut, other part you are producing sugarcane, another you are producing tomato and potatoes, and only a smaller part is producing rice or paddy. So these economies of scale occur when we double all of the inputs to a production process. We can more than double the output. So in that case, as you will learn in your microeconomics part, when there is economics of scale, the firm's long run average cost curve depends on the scale in production and the effect of the scale on the prices it pays for the input. We are not going to discuss that part. It will be discussed in your microeconomics. So what we're saying is when there is specialization, like you have these 10 acres of land, and you know that these 10 acres of land have a better soil quality for paddy production. When you have specialization, that means you devote all of your 10 acres of land for paddy production, then you will produce more. So that is what we call is economies of scale. You are producing the same goods in larger quantity than many goods of smaller quantity. But what happens is people will not specialize. Say if you are specializing in producing paddy, but you not only require paddy for your living, but you also require other goods and services. So if there is no way to acquire the other goods and services, then you will not specialize. So these specializations, which Adam Smith had called that division of labor, pose a problem for the society. How the paddy you are producing can be exchanged for other goods and services other producers may be producing. So how are these goods and services to be distributed from one producer to, say, the final user? That poses a problem in case of our specialization. So this specialization, as Smith also mentioned, is limited by your extent of the market. If there are no markets, so you will not, if you don't have market for exchange of your paddy for other goods and services, you are going to, you need to acquire for your living, then you are not going to specialize. So this market helps to trade your goods and services or other goods and services you require. So what you are saying is specialization along with trade, which we can do when there is market, will increase our production. So this specialization along with trade, if there are no trade, then people will not specialize because they are not going to get other things they require. So specialization along with trade, which is possible when markets are present, then we'll produce more goods and services. So what we'll do is we'll take a 5 minutes break and then